Governments love to tell you they're working for your future. They talk about prosperity, stability, fairness, opportunity. But history tells a very different story. If you step back and look across centuries, a pattern emerges: uncomfortable, repetitive, and deliberate. Governments have consistently used financial systems not to free people, but to bind them. Not to distribute prosperity, but to concentrate power. And the most dangerous part? These tricks don't look like tricks. They're sold as necessity, patriotism, reform, or economic reality. What changes is the language. What never changes is the outcome. Let's strip the story down to its foundations. The oldest weapon: currency manipulation. Long before spreadsheets and central banks, rulers discovered a simple truth. If you control money, you control behavior. In ancient civilizations, money was metal, gold, silver, copper, that made manipulation difficult, but not impossible. Rome perfected the technique. By the 3rd century, the Roman Empire was overstretched. Massive armies, bloated bureaucracy, constant war. Raising taxes openly risked revolt. So emperors chose a quieter solution. They debased the currency. Silver coins were gradually diluted with base metals. The face value stayed the same. The metal content did not. To the state, it felt like free money. To citizens, it was invisible theft. Prices rose. Savings shrank. Wages lagged. Rome didn't collapse because people became lazy or immoral. It collapsed because trust in money collapsed. That lesson never disappeared. It just evolved. The medieval upgrade. Debt as control. As economies grew more complex, rulers needed new tools. Enter debt. Medieval monarchs across Europe mastered forced lending. Merchants were asked to finance wars, crowns, and palaces. Refusal wasn't an option. Sometimes repayment came late. Sometimes in debased currency. Sometimes not at all. The genius of the system was psychological. Loans were framed as duty, as loyalty, as sacrifice for the nation. But the risk always flowed downward. The crown survived. The lenders absorbed the loss. Debt wasn't just funding, it was obedience. The institutional trick: making the system permanent. The real breakthrough came when governments learned to industrialize finance. In 1694, Britain created the Bank of England, not to stabilize society, but to finance war. Private investors bought government debt. The state guaranteed interest payments. Taxes funded the interest. On paper, everyone won. In reality, the structure locked in inequality. Wealthy lenders received safe, predictable returns. Ordinary people paid consumption taxes to fund them. For the first time, governments created a system where borrowing wasn't temporary. It was structural. This model spread everywhere. Public debt became permanent. Interest became untouchable. Taxation became invisible. Modern times. Same game fast forward to today. Governments borrow not for emergencies, but as standard practice. Deficits are routine. Debt ceilings are theater. Politicians sell spending as public benefit. But trace the money. Defense contractors. Financial institutions. Corporate subsidies. Z asset markets. When debt expands, asset prices rise. Who owns assets? Not wage earners. The burden always returns to households through taxes, inflation, or reduced services. Debt doesn't disappear. It migrates. Bailouts, the ultimate illusion. Nothing exposed the system more clearly than 2008. Banks made catastrophic bets. They packaged risk, hid it, sold it, and leveraged it. When it failed, markets froze. Governments intervened, not to protect citizens, but to protect the system itself. Losses were socialized. Profits were preserved. Banks emerged larger, more concentrated, more powerful. The message was unmistakable. Risk is private. Failure is public. And the public was told this was necessary. The retirement mirage. Perhaps the most subtle trick of all is retirement finance. Workers pay into systems believing their future is secured, but governments rarely save that money. It's spent immediately. What remains is a promise that future workers will cover the cost. This only works if populations grow, if productivity rises, if confidence holds. When demographics shift, the truth surfaces. Benefits shrink. Retirement ages rise. Inflation quietly erodes payouts. The structure survives. The promise changes. Quantitative easing. Complexity is camouflage. In the modern era, complexity became the shield. After 2008, central banks created trillions electronically. They called it liquidity, stability, emergency support. Markets surged. But wages didn't. Asset owners benefited first and most. Those without assets paid through higher living costs. Key didn't fail. It worked exactly as designed. Hidden taxation. Governments rarely raise taxes directly anymore. They inflate. They raise consumption taxes. They devalue savings. Inflation reduces debt burdens for states. It punishes savers silently. People feel richer in numbers, poorer in reality. This is not accidental. It is policy. Regulation and the illusion of protection. Regulation is sold as protection. In practice, it's often captured. Industries influence the rules meant to restrain them. Complexity favors scale. Small competitors are squeezed out. Power concentrates. Choice narrows. The referee belongs to the strongest player. War finance never ends. Wars are sold as temporary emergencies. Their financial consequences are permanent. Debt-funded conflicts enrich contractors, lenders, and institutions. The public inherits the bill. Generations pay for decisions they never voted on. Why these tricks work? Because most people never study financial history. Because complexity obscures responsibility. Because the language is comforting. Growth, reform, stability, investment. But beneath the words lies the same mechanism repeated across empires. The real takeaway: history doesn't suggest governments are evil. It shows they are self-preserving systems. They prioritize survival over fairness, stability over justice, control over freedom. Understanding this doesn't make you cynical. It makes you harder to manipulate. Financial education is not optional. It is resistance. If you don't recognize the tricks, you will pay for them. Because you always have. Rome didn't fall because people stopped believing in civilization. It fell because they stopped believing in money. Every system lasts until trust breaks. The only question is whether you see the pattern before it repeats again. If this changed how you see money and power, subscribe. History has already written the future. You just need to read it.